whatever it is. Anyway, I want to talk to you a little bit about Adobe Experience Design CC. Anybody heard about it before? So first of all, this is the newest, one of the newest members for the Adobe Creative Cloud family. It was in beta for a year, so they called it actually Adobe Experience Design parentheses XD beta, and now it got out of beta in October, and it's part of Creative Cloud, so you can download it and then start using it. So I actually prepared some files, and this is the links to the files, but if you don't want to use the file, it's up to you if you want to watch me in this class or do it hands-on or ask questions, or after a while actually take some of your images and say, you know what, I'm going to do that myself with some of generic images that I have just to create the stuff that we have, because basically because it's so new, so there's a lot of stuff still, like people still talking about it. And then as soon as I walked into the class today, guess what happened? They did an update already today. So they're updating XD every month because it's based on prototyping. So if something is really new in the market tomorrow, bang, you get an update. So you have to be really aware. It's so hard. So like my presentation here doesn't have this newest little thing maybe, because I didn't even know about it until I walked in here, because nobody's called me and said, oh, there's a little update. I'm sure that's a tiny little update that's not really matter for us, but that's what I want you to be aware. So all the time, and I'll show you where to look for it, they're going to have a lot of update. So what is Adobe Experience Design? Anybody knows anything about it? When you signed up for the class, what is it? What are we talking about?
Apps?
Yeah, exactly. So what is it? It's actually, everybody's talking about it. It's called it the User Experience Design, or they call it UX. And then you have in the market called UI. So people kind of like apply for jobs and say, I want to be a UX designer, or I want to be an UI designer, or I want to be both. What's the difference between the two of them? Because it's a little confusing, right? Because everybody thinks it's the same. So what UX design, so what we're going to do here, they call it Adobe Experience Design. We're actually doing it based on what the app is prototyping, but we're not an immediate UX designer when we do that. So what is a UX designer? And if somebody does really the research, the stuff behind the scene, the sociology of the company, everything like this, if you have the will to do stuff like that, you're going to be a UX designer. So basically they have data and all kind of stuff like this, and they're working and researching all kind of stuff. When you want to be a UI designer, which that's what I am a lot of time, is when you have the graphic design skill and you want to go in and design the UI, the user interface, but it's always based on the information they're going to tell you, because if the UI doesn't relate to the UX, it's not good, and if the UI is not good, the UX is going to fail too. So they're kind of like going hand in hand, and the people that are very successful in the field, they're probably going to be the people who do both, or the people that have very strong design component, and then they want to do that. It's nothing with code over here. So basically, you are prototyping for apps and for web design. So instead of talking to, let's say, your coder and showing you flat images from Photoshop or from Illustrator and having like different kind of artboard, and say, this should move, this should jump, look at this layer, look at this one, and the coder has no idea what you're talking about. Basically, you do the same thing here, but you have the possibility of showing him exactly or more or less how it is going to look. What are you giving him back? You're not giving him any code. You're not exporting to code, let's say for now at least, for like, let's say Dreamweaver. You're just giving him the same flat screens, but these flat screens are moving. So he can click on it and say, oh, okay, I know what to do now. Here I'm going to do a code for something that's going to move. Here I'm going to do a code that something's going to roll over. Here. So the job is still there for him, but your communication with him is a little bit different. Does that make sense? So there's a lot of stuff like this in the market, of course. Everybody that does UX and UI design today probably works a lot with something called Sketch. And that's what they're teaching in a lot of places. Probably you heard about it. And InVision is hosting them and sending it and doing all kind of stuff like that. So then a year ago, Adobe decided to go into it. And the reason I like it so much, A, I trust Adobe because it's part of the entire family. B, all this stuff is working with the Adobe software. So if you, let's say, do Sketch and maybe bring Photoshop file into it and things like this, it's not part of the Adobe family, so maybe you're gonna have some stuff that's not gonna work perfect. Here, most of the time, they're working on stuff that they're gonna work perfect with the Adobe family and the Adobe environment, and together they're gonna make something that's gonna be even better. So why am I saying it like that? Because there's, I mean, anybody use Sketch here? Because if you guys don't use Sketch, it's fine. But sometimes I show XD to people who use Sketch and they're sitting like, nah. We're not going to use that because this is not as involved yet because it's version 1.0. Does that make sense? So they're still working on a lot of stuff to make it better and better. And a lot of people that use Sketch will say, is that doing this one? Is it doing that? Of course, in the future, it's going to do it because I trust them. They're going to go in and work. So a lot of people from Sketch asking me usually, so what's going to happen with Sketch? And I'm looking at them like, either it's going to stay and be wonderful, or if Adobe really likes them, guess what Adobe is going to do? It's going to purchase them, right? Because that's what Adobe is doing. He purchasing company and then continue developing. I always make the same joke with the students. I tell, I'm waiting for Adobe to purchase me, but you know, maybe something I do, but so far I didn't find anything that they want me to do, so that's okay. So what are we going to do in this class? We're going to do in this class, first of all, I'm going to give you just overall, I prepared kind of a little presentation, and this presentation I did in Adobe Spark, and it's kind of moving around, just showing you a little bit how it works. So you can see here all the screens that I created already, and they kind of link to each other. I did like a screenshot of that. And then if I'm going to go in and move a little bit, so I'm talking a little bit about the designing and prototyping with XD. So it's an app that lets you do that and experience all the prototyping with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to see stuff that we can do in Photoshop and in Illustrator and can bring it into XD. We're going to create something at prototyping, and this is the part I said, if you don't have my file, that's okay. You can do file new and open any file from anywhere you want. You can even download few demos from Adobe Stock if you want, or take any image that you have, because nobody is really testing you, and just decide I'm going to do a little app about myself, about USC, about my life, and things like this. The demo that I have is about art downtown LA. I didn't even finish the app. It just shows 5-6 screens because there's no time to do so many things like this. And it can show you how easy it is to do stuff. I also want to show you something that I did kind of like a few days ago. I was complaining to the Spark people and telling them that I don't think when you open Spark on the web, it looks really great. So instead of telling them what I think, I actually showed it to them. I prototyped it in XD, and I'm going to show you this. It took me 2 seconds. Basically what I did screenshots. I made the screenshot the way I wanted it to be, put it inside XD, and told them it should have been like this and not just a mess when you open that. So basically what you have here, this is the one that doesn't look the same. You see here, design, prototype, and share the screen. It's almost looking like this now, but remember I told you there was an update this morning. Whenever they have an update, they will change something in the screen. So what changed over here is the Apple iOS kit and all this. They kind of like here, but the usage is a little bit different, and they added more stuff to it, like using some grids and everything like that. And then you still have a tutorial that you open that. You do have artboards. Basically what you mean is every screen is kind of an artboard, but you do have layers. They look a little bit different than Photoshop layers, but you do have layers in this version. You do have symbols in this version, and basically you can see here that I have like my assets are setting in this way, and then I can take stuff, drag and drop, or copy and paste for anything that you have to create something. So you can use some presets, and this is the stuff that we might do here in the class. We can prototype it to different screens. We can also do a video on the screen and put it in there, and you're going to see how it looks, and then you can share a link with anything that you want. So today, actually, the new stuff, when you share a link, you can even put a note on it. So they added like notes for everything to do that. So it's like every month they add something based on a request. If you want to be part of it, you can go into the Adobe site where the XD there, and there's an area there that they ask you what do you want to see, and they listen. They basically listen to you, and they are going to like maybe add stuff or things like this. They already published a bunch of stuff on XD in Behance, so I highly recommend to go to Behance and see some nice projects that they have, and they're really treating this like their new baby. So they have two babies actually. They have a 3D program, a new one, Dimension, and then they have this one. These are the two babies. Adobe always is known to bring a new baby every year for something, and they start like, you know, petting it. And this is the baby that they're really looking into it the whole time. So I'm just gonna get out of that, and I am going to exit the full screen here, and I'm basically going to go to my cloud, and you see that I was about to open XD, and it was actually open on my screen when I got the notice that, oh, update, there's something new in here. So I had to turn off XD, and I just downloaded the new one. And what they did there, they have little things. I hope it's not gonna, I didn't even look at what's new, but probably they said like some bugs and some other stuff that you have that brings it in. So if I'm gonna go in and open it, I'm just gonna go and launch XD right now. And you see the screen is pretty simple what you have here on the screen. These are, and it's a little bit different than in my presentation, but you see these are the screen you can start. These are my latest files that I used on the right side. And then you have UI kits. What does it mean? You can click on the Apple iOS, and it will take you to their site, and you can basically download a kit that does anything with prototyping. Anything from file name and the keyboard, and you know, it's almost like some of the stuff it's gonna look like, you know, everything that you have on the phone or everything that you have on your iPad and whatnot. Then the same thing, you have Google material, Microsoft material as well, and then wireframing. So if you want to look at anything that you have, in a minute we're going to open that. And then on the other side you have what's new, learn and support, provide a feedback. This is the one they're really looking for, and I'm not kidding. I can't even tell you how many times I wrote to him about stuff that I don't like, and some things maybe because I didn't understand it all the way, they say, well, we can't do that, you know, not yet, or things like this. And then you have that. So if I'm going to go in and resources too, and then the release note. So if you're going to go in, let's say the release note, they're basically going to go in and tell you exactly what happened in the stuff and what's the new feature that showed up here. And you see here, not a lot of stuff here, so known issues that they have here, and list of feature and enhancement on this release right now. Hopefully, like I said, they didn't bring something that I never seen in my life, because you don't want to do that a minute before a presentation. And then of course always they're going to tell you what everything is, and what you have in this one is actually the same thing. It's a little bit better kind of like, you can do like a collection and all kind of stuff, and the layout grid. So basically it's the same thing. Where they enhance a lot of stuff, for a while it was only for Mac, and now it's also for Windows, so which is great. And this is where Adobe is leading, because Sketch is only for Mac. So all the window users are screaming, so I think Adobe jumped on this wagon and say, yay, we're gonna do that for Windows. So all the window users are gonna go in and work with it. But I'm gonna go back to XD. What else do I have here? I have the UI kit. I already downloaded for you the UI kit, and you have it, and I'll show you where it is in my file. But if I wanted just to see how it looks, I can click on the Apple iOS, and this is what you get. And they're showing you basically stuff that you are going to go in and select, and then you can go in, download for XD. And if you download it for XD, you're going to get an XD screen. But the good news with XD, because it's a vector-based software, you can copy anything and paste it back to your screen. Does that make sense? So I'm not going to go in and download right now anything, because I downloaded it already for you. But I'm going to go in and click on, let's say, the iPhone. And then I could have done, I clicked too fast, but if I clicked on the arrow below that, there's different sizes of iPhones. The different sizes of screens that you want to start. And you can also prototype it also for something different completely. What does it mean? You can just decide, okay, you know what, I'm gonna just prototype it for an idea that I have with a weird size, just to show somebody how to work, right? Does that make sense? I'm gonna leave this one alone for a minute, and I'm gonna go into my Finder, and then I'm going to go to the area that I have here. And this is basically, that's what you got. You have here the XD files that I send it to you. And what I have here, I put some fonts in there. I did an XD demo about stuff. I did artboard that I made them into PDF. We're gonna look at them. Then I have Adobe Illustrator files here. Then I have general images that I wanna work with. And you see over here, this is the iOS XD. This is the place I was talking to you about that I already downloaded. Since we're using Mac, I didn't download the other ones. But if you need to, you can do that. You have stickers. I put some text in there. And then I took some wireframes here also when downloaded it. And then I have two little areas that says, you see, I have XD Spark. I'm just gonna open it just to show you. And that's what I meant is, when I started to do my, show people how I want to work with XD, if I double click on that, and then I can double click idea, I called it idea for Spark. And then here I have the images that I used over here. And this one I used kind of asset, and you see they're all screenshots. So basically the screenshots form the computer that I made. And then if I double click on it, basically this is what I have here. I just made regular screens, because when I open Adobe Spark for presentation, and when you're going to your project nowadays, it's a mess. It's all over the place. If you did videos or pages or posts, it's all over the place. And I said, you know what, maybe I don't want it to look like this. So how about I'm gonna go in and do it a little bit different. So I can go to my prototype area, and if I click on it, you can see here that I have links. For the stuff that I have, they're all linked to each other and maybe working together. So I can go into this area, I'm gonna go into this area, and I can actually gonna go back here, and it's showing you basically how the screen was, right? So if I'm going to go into this area or this area or this area, I can actually see, let's say if I'm gonna go back and click on video or something like this, and I can go back to this area. You see it's moving. So basically what I did here, I just prototyped it. But in order for me to send it to, let's say, a client, I divided it to post, page, and video. I even went further, and while I was doing it, I recorded it. So you see I have ideas for Spark MP4, and basically it is going to open for you this QuickTime movie. And if I'm gonna go and click on it, look at that, I don't have to talk to anybody, you see. I'm gonna go back and it goes back here. I'm gonna go to page, it's gonna go back here. I'm gonna back home. I'm gonna go to video, it is going to go back here, and I'm gonna go back home, and then I'm gonna show an example what happened in a page that I want to show somebody a page, right? Really simple, right? Nothing complex, but instead of me calling them and say, this is what I think you should do, I showed it to them already on the screen, and I just did generic, you know, all the screens look the same. I just made it for placeholder. Does that make sense? So you can do that as well. So the project that I'm going to show you how to work with, I have something says demo final, and it's called Art in LA, and this is the Art in LA that I have over here, and this is basically the preview that I have in there. And then I can go back here, and you see here I have that. I can go back here to the main page. I can go and explore, and then if I have, let's say, a music center, I can go to the music center and see what's going on in the music center. And maybe after that, I didn't even finish it, maybe more at the music center, maybe we did another app, need another screen, and go in from this page and say what's going on in the music center, because there's more than one thing, right? There's ballet, there's music, there's musicals. I didn't even go into it yet, right? I left it in the placeholder. I can go back to home right now. I can go back to explore. I can go, let's say, to Watchtower and go back to the exploration, to another area that I really like, and go back here. And let's say I'm going to go back here to this one, and then I can go into each area that I want, and based on that. And also I went in and I just did another one, like kind of like a pretend. If you want to check in, if you do your favorite, who's the member that's going there, Art in LA, sign out, and then I'm the only member. I didn't do any other thing. And this is something about me, and maybe you can go back here and look at this one, and it goes back in here. But you see all this component, I didn't make them. I did not make them. That's on the iOS kit. So you basically can copy and paste all the stuff that you think you want to bring in and start working on it ahead of time. Does that make sense? So not that I cannot make it, right? I can go in and do some stuff like that. I can go back here to the home. I can go back here to each area that I have. And this one is an icon that it's very familiar. You do have it anywhere that you want, but what if I wanted to do something completely different? Of course I can design a little thing that has a little house in there. But it was so much easier for me to go in and create the stuff that I have, like this. Does that make sense? So now I'm going to go back here, and I might actually close this one. And this is the one, that's how it looks over here on my screen. I might even use it for certain things to look at that if I don't remember what I did. But if I do something that looks completely different, that's okay. And this is the part that I want you guys to work with me if you want, because you want to try it. That's the thing with here. It's like if you don't try it, it's basically a 10 minutes learning curve. How many of you know Illustrator? Yes, right? Because you could. How many of you know some Photoshop? Okay, so it's basically think about the tools that you have in Illustrator. What's the tool that everybody draws with in Illustrator? The pen tool, right? And now we have the new tool that's not going to be in the test yet, but it's the curvature tool. Remember we talked about it? The one that you really, it's easier for you to draw. If you are familiar with Flash from years ago, that's the same tool. So all of a sudden what you see here, all the Flash users are so pissed that it's gone, right? It wasn't Adobe's fault, right? It's Apple's fault, basically. But all the cool tools that were vector before, they're showing up slowly in different tools in a different way, because they used to be there. And the curvature tool is part of it. All the stuff that you use and do all kind of images and objects and things like this. So in the beginning, what we are going to do is we're going to go in and make a tour of the software. And basically after that, we're going to try to build something. Could be small, can be 2 screen, 3 screen, 4 screen. If you want to use my asset, you can use my asset. It's okay. Anything is good for that. Does that make sense? So you can do everything that you can do in XD is you can place SVG files, you can place Adobe Illustrator files. I'm not sure if Adobe can, I think you can place it or copy and paste it. You can place JPEG, PNGs. You cannot place Photoshop file. Photoshop file you can copy and paste into it. So basically you can open Photoshop, and we're going to do that, and paste. You can open any image from the web, right click on it and do like copy and paste it directly into XD. So it's really working with that. You can also copy and paste stuff from Illustrator, and it will maintain a lot of the stuff. And this is why I have some stuff already in Illustrator, just to show you if you want. Because a lot of time, like let's say for this one, right? If I'm going to go in and select that, and I'm going to zoom into just a selection, which is Command or Control 3 is you zoom into a selection that you have. So if I'm going to go in here and look at that, do you see here? This is a component that I took from the UI. This is a component that I took from the UI. This one is an Adobe Illustrator file. Does that make sense? So why did I do it here? Because I was able to do it a little nicer. I was able to work with the end. I was able to play with the colors that I have and all kind of stuff like that. And from that to go in and work with. Does that make sense? And if I'm going to go all the way, the background itself, it's in Photoshop. And it actually combines 3 or 4 images that I took from Adobe stock and put them together, so you can see part of downtown. You see in the shading, it's the Broad Museum, kind of like that. There's a lot of area here that I didn't like, so I end up like erasing it from there. So little components here are coming either from Photoshop or Illustrator. Like this little guy here, this is from this little music sign, this is from Illustrator. I took it in Photoshop, but I didn't want to have it because it was too small, and I traced it in Illustrator and brought it in as vector. Does that make sense? And by the way, anytime that I say something and you don't feel like you're following me, please ask the questions, because I know it's new for everybody right now. This is the only software that I cannot tell you. Years ago, when I did that, it didn't work for me. I can only say 8 months ago or a year ago, because I started being part of the beta team with them. But that's it. I have as much experience as they have, and in a minute, as much experience that you have. I'm just using it a little bit more. So I'm going to go back to Window, and I'm going to go back to my Untitled. And the first thing we want to do here in the Untitled, I can even save it if I want, or I can just look on the left side what's going on there. Very simple. Look what this one is. This is your toolbox. Not a lot of stuff happening here. Do you see that? So I want you to go into your rectangle tool and click on the screen and just do a small rectangle. If you hold on the shift key, you can constrain. If you don't hold on the shift key, you can do any size. And if you hold on the option or alt and shift, you can constrain and do it from a center. So basically, if you know how to do object in Illustrator already, that's the way it is, right? The difference is you cannot just click on the screen and give it a number yet, but that's what you do. And look at this. In the left side, look what you have. The height and the width of it. So let's say I did that. First of all, what can I do? On the right side, you see it says fill, and then it says border. I'm going to click on the fill, and that's going to bring me a color. And I can go in, and this is actually new here. I can go to the eyedropper and click, or I can just click anywhere here. So if I had an image on the screen already, I could have sampled the color from the image of the screen using the eyedropper. Another thing I can do here, you see you have the hex number already. I can also click plus. So I want to do another number here, and I can do another plus and another number here, and can do another plus, and I can just create a whole color panel over here just for me to have it, just the fill. And now if I'm gonna go into the fill again, I can go back here, and you see if I had another image, I can take this one to travel around and basically see what it did. It just did this color. So basically I can go in and just click here, or if I had an image, I can sample it. Does that make sense? Another thing that I have here in the colors, I can also go to the border. So I can decide maybe I want to have like a dark border over here. So I can add that to it. And then I can go into the border and I want to make it, let's say, 4 points. There's another thing that you have like object blur. So you can start blurring the object, kind of like I don't use it that much on a regular thing, because you see it looks like not the one that I really want. And you go in and you can do like an object shadow to it if you need to do some shadows to an area that you have. But for now, I don't do anything. The next thing I want to do just for this, very simple. Do you see these little circles? Is that remind you something? What are they? These are basically, if you're using Illustrator, not a lot of people using Illustrator here, some of you yes, remember that's how you change your shapes. So I basically can go in here and look what I can do. So they don't give you a round corner, but you can do that. Another thing you can do is I can go in and just do that, but then I can hold down the optional Alt key and look what I can do. I can do one at a time. Do you see that? So I can go into this one and I can go in and do one of the time, and I can go in and create this one and bring it here and that. But that's not even the end of it, because now it does it all the way. But I can go in and do that. I can go into this one, and all of a sudden look what I have. I don't really have like a square. I have a leaf if I wanted to do that, right? So you can do your own drawing at any time that you want. Another thing you can do is go to the selection tool and just double click. And look what happened when you double click. And the Flash user said, we've been using it for so many years. Thank you for bringing it now. But you can see every area here is actually, I call it the squishies, because you can just go in and do all kind of fun stuff with it. If I double click on it, I make it into a corner. If I double click on it, I have my handles. Look what happened to my poor rectangle. Gone, right? If I don't like this area here, I simply delete that. But if I want this one to squish it a little bit, I can do that. And now all of a sudden, I can go in and create something completely different based on the beginning when I started. Does that make sense? How cool is that? So can you do a lot of shapes in Illustrator? Of course you can. But if you need to do an immediate thing, you can do that. So let's say do something like interesting. Let's go in, let's say, to our rectangle tool. So I'm going to go and click on the rectangle and do a square. And now I'm just going to go in and make that just round corners. And I'm going to go into the fill, and I'm going to fill it with one of the color that I did before. And I'm going to go into the border, and I'm going to do it to the other border, and I'm going to make it maybe 3 points. What if this one is something with the same size that it's going to repeat everywhere that you're going to go in and do something to it? So when you're going to go in here, I can make a drop shadow to it and then change the XY, but I don't want to make some drop shadows right now. But what if I really, really like it? And this has to come now and be part of my UI, right? I made it a little bit smaller over here. I can go into the left side, and you see the word symbol. I can click here and click plus, and that's going to be a symbol. we may be going to use it for other stuff as we go, but that's going to be your symbol that you're going to use for the stuff that you have. Does that make sense? It's all the way to the left side. You can see assets, colors, character, style, and symbols. Do you see that? All the way down here, you're going to go in and have here the assets that you're working with. And then you're going to go back here and have the layers that you have here. So basically, I'm going to go back here and it is going to tell you exactly what you're working with. Does that make sense? What if I wanted to do even something more interesting? I'm going to go in and go and click and do another one, another little box here. And if I wanted both of them kind of aligned together, you can see all the way to the right, look what I have here. I have here the alignment to it. So of course, if I do stuff like this, I'm going to get that, right? If I'm going to go stuff like that, I'm going to make sure it's center to center. If I do something like this, basically depending what you're doing, this is the stuff that you're going to get. I can leave it like this if I want. And then I'm going to go into this one and go into the color and make that maybe this color. And I'm going to go back here. I did the border and I'm going to go into the fill and make the fill this color. What if I decided to have an object that looks like this? For some reason, right? I can select one, select the other one, and I can go to my object here. I can basically group. And once I group it, they move together. And then I can also go in and decide, okay, how about I'm going to bring it in and play with it? Does that make sense? So I made it into a symbol. You ask me, why do I want to have a symbol? Why wouldn't I just have it regular? What if in your first page in the UI, you're going to go in and duplicate it? See, I duplicate it one time, and then I can go in and distribute it horizontally or vertically, but I can also go in and do Command D or Control D that copies it, and now I'm going to go in and bring another one, right? So let's say I did the 3 of them right now. But now I'm going to double click on one of them, and then I'm going to go into the fill and change the fill to red. Look what happens. That happens when you have a symbol. So if you do a nav bar or something with certain colors, and all of a sudden your client wants you to change it and make it to something completely different, maybe you want to use symbols. Sometimes it is dangerous to use a symbol because you say, okay, I want 4 symbols to change, but 1 not to change, right? So you can always go in and select the stuff that you have, and you can go and ungroup the symbol. And now if I'm going to go in and change the fill, it's just going to behave like the Illustrator symbols. Now it doesn't know that it's a symbol anymore. Does that make sense? So a symbol is a group of shapes that you can put it together. You can group them. You can add them to a symbol in order to go back and forth and do that. And I'm just going to delete that right now. Yes?
Question. So when you remove that from being a symbol, change the characteristic a little bit, would you be able to
resymbol it? Yes. Yeah. Every time you do something, you can resymbol. So it's basically like working in Illustrator. You say, okay, I want 40 symbols to be the same if I do a map, and all of a sudden there are 4 of them not. So you can like expand the symbol and say this guy's going to do a local change. And then you can resymbol them again if you want them to be the symbol. Does that make sense? So you can go back and forth. Really, really easy to work with. Another thing that you can go back here, you can go into the color that you have here, right? So I want to go in, let's say, and I want to go in and change the fill of this one. So I can go into this color and I change it to this color over here too. So I can also have it just here next to me and start bringing some stuff that I'm going to start working. If I don't want, I'm going to go back here, and now I'm going to go in and do an ellipse. So in this time, look what I'm doing. I'm adding, I have this little background, but I'm going to go in and do like a complete circle, a perfect one. So I'm holding down the Option or Shift key and do a perfect circle. Now I don't have the little dots because it's a circle, but I can go back here and I can just do stuff like that. So I can go in and decide that I'm going to leave this one here, but maybe this one is going to be like that. I'm going to select these little guys here, and then I'm going to move them. So you see, I'm going to do like something that I'm going to put an image in there. And then I'm going to go in and just do stuff like that. And then you can see I can just play, and almost like I call it, I'm ruining my regular stuff that I have, but I can go back and forth and play with it. Does that make sense? So if I'm gonna go in, I can just do stuff like that. And then if I'm gonna go back here to this one, I'm gonna go in and create. So let's say I wanna do that. I'm gonna make the fill into blue right now, and I'm gonna go into the border and I'm gonna make it black border, and I'm gonna make it, let's say, 5 points. And I kind of like it for now, because I might use it later for something that we're gonna work here. I might even gonna make it a little smaller here, and I'm going to click and made it into a symbol, right? So I don't want to use it right now, and I'm just okay. What else do I have here? You do have lines, and you can just work with lines, with borders to anywhere that you want to create some stuff. And you can go in, let's say if I want to go in, let's say I made that, and I want to go in, and I am going to go back into, and I'm going to fill it with white. And then in the border, I'm going to make it dark, and I'm going to make it 4 points. And now I'm going to go into the line, and I'm just going to go into that. And then I'm going to go this one and make it also 4 points. And then I'm going to go in and make it like that. So you can see here, it's almost like, I mean, maybe I'm going to make it more. Maybe I'm going to make it 6. So this is almost like a magnifying thing that I'm playing with, and I can put it here, and I can make a symbol like this, and I can select the 2 of them. And now what I can do here, you see all the way to the right, you have like the Pathfinder commands. So you can find them on the object. I can go back here and do that. Or you can go all the way up here, and you can see I can go in and make it to 1. And now it is 1 object. Does that make sense? And I can go back here and put it in here, and I can make it smaller or bigger or anything that I want. Does that make sense? So you can do that. The last thing that I want to see when drawing is the wonderful pen tool. So what if you wanted to go in, and look what I'm doing. I'm creating kind of like curves, and then curves, and click here and create a curve that I have here, and then I might close it. But now I can go and move it around. So I can go back and do that. I can double click and make that round. I can select any point that I want and make it bigger or smaller. And you see now I have some kind of a look for something. So you can take images and combine them. You can take images and draw with them, and you can always go back here and fill that with the color that you want. Does that make sense? And now I have that, and if I feel like doing something with it, not everything I'm going to put as a symbol, but you can do that if you work with it. Does that make sense? On top of that, you do have type, and you do have the artboard, and you do have the zoom in. So let's start to do something. So I'm going to start with going in, and then I am going to go to the fill, and I'm going to go and do none. And then I am going to go into here, and I'm going to do a new square over here. And I'm going to go in and change the name. It says iPhone. I'm going to go to the artboard. I'm going to click on the word iPhone, and I'm going to call it splash screen. So I'm trying to build my little screen, right? And I want to go into this area, and maybe I want to go and put stuff in there. So where do I have stuff? The first thing I'm going to go and show you what I have here in my XD files before we start working with it. So look what I have in my XD file. I made artboard into a PDF. So what I did in the end, I just did a complete PDF to show how it looks. I have my final demo, and also I have something here that says images. Look what I have here in the images, right? And I named the images based on the places I wanted to describe. So you see here, I do have few splash screens. I have this splash screen, that's how I started, maybe. And then I have another splash screen, maybe that's the one I used. I even have another one. You see, I couldn't make decisions. So if I'm looking at the three of them, and sometimes I look through them in bridge, you see here, this has kind of like a creative thing in it, this has nothing in there, and this has the broad, right? Where did I do that? I did that in Photoshop. This one I cannot place in XD yet. My dream is to place it and like in InDesign go back and forth and change it. But I'm still dreaming, hopefully in the future. So it's going to read my layers and I say, let me tweak it. Right now I can't do that. But if I'm double click on it, it is going to open Photoshop for me. And then I'm checking the layers and you can see exactly what I did. So this is the part I'm not crazy about, because if I decide to make a change all of a sudden, to go back to Photoshop and export it again as a JPEG or a PSD, or PNG and come back to it. But you see here, this is how I worked with it. I had smart object, I had some stuff here, this is the broad, this is the other one that I covered, and this is the filter. So basically I started from stuff like that, and I have a lot of stuff that I have here. So if I'm gonna go back to XD, I can do two things here. I can do file and import. And the import gonna take me to the XD assets that I have. I can double click on it and look what's grayed out. The PSD file, do you see that? So the PSD file is completely grayed out. That means that it's not compatible. And I can decide which one I want to go to. Let's say I'm going to do splash screen number 3, and I'm going to go in and import it. And this is what I have in there. It just went directly in there as is. It just went in there. It kind of like even ignored everything that I have with the size and everything that I had there. And I can go in and move it around, and I can just go in and do that, right? If I don't want it like this, I can go back here now, select it, and then I am going to my Finder and basically making the Finder a little smaller. And I can go into my splash screen number 3, and I'm going to put it in here. Do you see that? And now it's all in there and is listening. I can even go and do that, which I'm not going to do. Does that make sense? And it's kind of looking nice and cool, and I'm going to play with it. There's other ways to put images into it, but now I'm going to do File and Save As, and then I'm going to put it on my desktop, and I'm going to call it DTLA_art. And again, like I told you before, I didn't finish, I didn't do all the screens. I just did 4 of them that I really like, because this is my favorite stuff. I should have called it my favorite apps in things that I have there. So I'm gonna go and deselect. I wanna go back here to this area, and I'm gonna go in and just create something like that, and I'm gonna go a rectangle, and I'm gonna fill it maybe with black. And this is going to be kind of like the beginning of the stuff that I have. If I select anything and I'm going to my layers, look what I have here though. I have something says rectangle. I have splash screen number 3, so I can double click and name it if I need to. I'm not naming it yet because it's not a lot of stuff, but I'm gonna go back here and do stuff like this. But now I kind of want to go in and bring like the navigator that looks like stuff like I have here. And I might go in to the fill here and maybe make that maybe kind of like that. And here is a situation. You see here, if I'm going to sample into this navigator and I want to sample something from the image, you see what I can do? I can click here and sample that. Does that make sense? I can click here on the image and decide that the navigator is going to be this size. Right? And I can go back here and even edit, and I have that. Now I'm going into my iOS. It used to be different that you went back here to US here. I don't need to go in and download it anymore because I downloaded it. If I go back here, it's going to take you to download it. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to my desktop, and that's the main thing you want to do. You kind of want to organize all your elements in tiny little folders that you know where you're going. So this stuff, I organized it ahead of time. Does that make sense? And now what I'm doing is I'm going to go into the iOS 11 and I'm going to double click here and say UI element plus guide. And then I'm going to double click on it and look what opens. And it's a lot of stuff there, but I know something is here. So I'm going to do Command 3 or Control 3 and look what I have here. I have here something that says light startle. I have, look, even this little guy's here. So I'm going to go and select that. And if I double click, I select the whole thing. I can even do double click. You see, each component is a standalone. Does that make sense? You can start diving into it, and that's how cool it is. I'm just going to click and just going to go into this navigation bar. So if I'm going to go in and click this navigation bar, or I'm going to go in and see here, this and this different kind of navigation, I'm going to copy, edit, copy, and I'm going to go back to DTLA and I'm going to paste. And what you can see here, I can go in here and basically align it. How cool is that? So it looks like almost like an iPhone, right? I'm like making it happen like it looks like an iPhone already, if this is what I want my prototyping to be. Does that make sense? And of course, I'm gonna Command S and save it, and I have the stuff here. What else do I wanna have here? Maybe I wanna make this area a little lighter. So you can see here, it's gonna be a little lighter here. Can I put it on top of another thing and start making it a little lighter to another color? Yes, I can. And then you're going to ask me, maybe you want to do a gradient here. What does it mean? I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go and make another rectangle the same size and go to Object and Arrange and send that to the back. And now I'm going to go in, and if I fill it to red, I have that. And now I'm going to go into the one I just have, and I can go in and look at that. You see here, I'm getting a different kind of design. Does that make sense? You don't have blending mode yet. That's a feature request, like in Photoshop, that's going to look kind of like a little bit different. At the moment, I can go in and just play right now with my transparent thing that I have. But what if I want it not to be even transparent? I can move it like this here, and look what I'm doing. While I go into the fill over here, you see it says solid color. That's something completely new that came up with. And you see next to the solid color, it says gradient. Do you see that? And I can go into this gradient here and change that to a different color. I can even go in and say I want to have it from here. I can go in and move the stuff around. You can see the gradient looks a little bit different. I can even work with the opacity level of the gradient. Does that make sense? And I can go into this area and decide that this gradient is maybe going to be that. And then I can go back here and change with the opacity. So now if I go in and click on this little guy here and change little stuff here, you can see that I have some stuff. And also I can change the hierarchy, and I can go into Arrange, and I can go back here and send this one back. And now you can see the gradient is on top of it. It's just depending on the stuff that you want to go and play with. Does that make sense? Yes.
What about the direction of that gradient?
Oh, cool. So now I'm going to go back here, and this is the gradient that I have. I'm going to click on that. This is not as cool. It's not really, but the only thing that you can do is just play with that right now and then go back here, but you still don't have the thing that you're looking for to that because it's so new. That's what you have. I'm sure the next update or the 3 up, it's going to do. This is just showed up 2 weeks ago, the gradient. So yes, that's the first thing I asked too, of course, because I don't want it like this. I want it like that. I want it to the other side. I mean, but I can go back here and I can play a lot with the gradient for it. I mean, the transparencies. So I can have something like that, and it looks like I have kind of like a nice looking thing, but not. Does that make sense?
I think you can change the direction of it. I just did it by accident.
Yeah, you can. You clicked on it?
Yeah.
What is the white bar?
Maybe you can actually
Like,
here,
I
right?
was kind of rotating it, like.
Oh,
that. Is that what he was talking about?
Yeah. Like this, right?
No, I put my cursor over that white line on the actual image.
This one?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and then that other white dot appears, so you can change.
Okay, yeah, actually you can. Thank you. So you see, I mean, I'm discovering a new thing every time that I do something. Maybe I knew about it, maybe I didn't, but thank you. That's so
just
cool.
did that.
Yeah, exactly. But this is what I like in this stuff because you can do stuff but like almost by mistake sometime and you say, yay, look at that. And now I messed it up completely, but I can go back and forth and just go in and play with that. I don't think I can do radial over here, but that's okay. Let's say I just did that. And then once I have that, I might go to object, arrange, and bring that back here, and I might go into this one and just play a little bit with the opacity so you can start seeing a little thing, right? So you can do all kind of design like that. What else do we want to do in this page? Maybe I want to put the title of the stuff that we have. So I can go in and place it, but I also can go in and drag and drop it to the area that I have. So I'm just going to go back here and look, what do I have in my first area? I have something called art and music. So I'm going to deselect over here and I'm going to go into my art and music, and I am going to go back here, go back to my art drive here, here, and I can see these are the UI element, and usually this is how I work with it. I have it kind of next to me. If you have another screen, it's even better. And you can see here I have AI SVG, and it's a Illustrator logo, another little Illustrator icon, which I don't remember. I should have called it some icon. And then I have another one, and I have a note over here. So I'm going to go into Illustrator logo, and I'm going to go in and put it somewhere. And then I'm going to go back and drag and drop it. But for that, I'm going to go in and select that and go back here and drag and drop the Illustrator logo. So I have to go in and kind of select a placement for it if I want to select it into it. If I don't, I can go into Illustrator and I can go back here to Illustrator and I can go into File and Open. And then I can go into this Illustrator logo over here, and I'm going to open that. It probably was open already. This is how I opened it. Okay. And then I can go in and copy that and place it. Or if I'm going to go File Open, I can go back here and I open this one. I hope I didn't save over it. Maybe I have it in another, maybe I don't have it. Let me just check my layers over here to see what I have. I might have it in another area here. Or actually I resave it with a kind of a different name, and that's why it didn't show up. But basically, if I want to go back to my Illustrator logo over here, which I don't know where it is now, so I'm going to go into another one because I want to show you what's next to it. You see here, image with a mask, and I'm just going to go in and open that. And look at this one. I just made something. It's not even looking good. And I'm going to go and select it. And I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to go back to XD. And I'm going to go in and paste it. Or did I not select everything? Okay. I'm going to go back here and I want to target everything and edit and copy. And then I'm going to go into XD and paste. And you see how I'm going to go hold on the shift key and I'm going to make it a lot smaller. And maybe this is because I didn't find the other logo. I'm just going to put this logo. It's not the greatest logo, but you can see here that I have that over here now. But I did that in Illustrator. And how did I do it in Illustrator? For the Illustrator users here. I did it in Illustrator with a mask. So if you go into the Illustrator file over here, and I just copied and pasted, I masked it inside. And kind of like if I'm going to double click on that, you can see that I do have a mask here, and I have the broad, and I have another mask inside, and inside these guys are in there. If I'm going to go to the XD, if I'm going to double click on everything, you can see it remembers the mask. Does that make sense? It remembers everything from Illustrator that you had here. So I can go back here and move it here. Does that make sense? So even if you copy and pasted something from Illustrator, it's going to go and be there. Does that make sense? The next thing I'm going to do here, I'm just going to do something really simple. I'm just going to go in and do a rectangle. And I am going to make that round. And I'm going to make that, leave it wide, but make it kind of light over here. And now I want to go in and bring my text. Unfortunately, what you have now, the text that you have is only simple text. It's still not Word document. So it's kind of like, for me, it's a problem because I type everything in Word or something else. It doesn't really remember that you have there. So you have to do everything simple text. So I'm going to go back here. And actually, I might have it in the SVG file. I wonder... Yeah, that's the one that I have actually. Oh, I didn't want it. Oh, okay. I still have the logo as SVG, by the way. I found it. I'm going to go back to the Finder. If I want to go and bring this one, I can go back here and put it somewhere. This is actually the logo that I wanted to work with from before. See that? I found it as an SVG file, and now I can go in and just make it a little smaller. And if this is going to be all over, I can actually go into this one and delete that because this is the one that I wanted. The other one, I just wanted to show you that it reads mask. But everything that I do here too, where is it coming from? Do you see what I can do? I don't like, let's say, the logo from, I say, oh, she's a worst designer. How about making a logo that looks like that? Does that make sense? So you can just do whatever you want from every component that you have in Illustrator. I feel like it's awesome. The only thing is, I wish I could save it and go back to, do the round trip. Still, I cannot do that, but I can go in and copy and paste and do anything to the art, and everything is going to be okay. So now I'm going to select that, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to my text, and I did put some text there, and I am going to double click on the text, and you can see in the text what you have here. I named it by the intro that I have here, the menu, the name of everything is, and everything that I have in here, it just named that. So maybe it's not, or maybe it's the one that says not the menu over here. I'm just going to go in and see what I have here. It's probably should see the intro. So I'm going to go in and drag it over here, and look what I have here. I'm just dragging it. And now, while I have it here, I can select that and change the fill, let's say to black. I can go back here and make that a little smaller. That's just the box. I can go in and select that and work on the alignment that I have. So if I wanted it to be like this, I can do that. And I can go in and make even the box even bigger or whatever I have. And I can go back here and put it over here. And then I can go in and of course do stuff like that and change. What else changed here in the type? Because people don't really like the way the type operates here. You can select the stuff. You can change the style to a different kind of fonts that you have, all kind of fonts that they give you here. And basically these are the fonts that I have in my system. You can also go in and decide that you want to have that bold italic. I'm just making it up right now, right? So you have all the stuff that you have here, and I can do that, and I can go back here and click, and I can just change. This is the tracking. I mean, this is the kerning and the tracking that you have, and this is aligning it together or not. So you can see here like pixel grid and not pixel grid if I have that. So let's say I wanted to go in and work like this. So if I'm going to go into the type, and I can go back and click on the type what I have, I might go in and add a style. You see what I have here? It's not heavy on styles like you have the other one, but you can add the style. But now I'm going to show you something awesome. What if you worked a lot this week and you have styles in your CC libraries? You worked with InDesign, with Photoshop, with Illustrator, created in your libraries, right? The newest addition is you can go back to File and open CC libraries. And I can go into different kind of libraries that I have. I have art and music in LA. I go in and I have make it on mobile. I'm going to look at the other stuff that I have. See, I have the one for the AC. I don't have no character style. But images for fun, maybe I have a character style. So look what happens. I put in the style that I have. I put in the style that I have. I put in the style that I have. Does that make sense? So if you're working with the stuff already, you can work with a certain library and call it XD elements. Does that make sense? Yes.
So earlier you mentioned about the SVG file. So that complex texture shapes, can that be converted to symbols and work?
Yes. Yeah. This one?
Yes.
Yeah. I can go back here and bring that into symbol.
And then the colors can have the same.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want and start playing with it. Everything can become a symbol if you want. Right? So I have all kind of stuff here, and then maybe I can even go into this one and put it here. Okay, this is kind of ugly. It's not really what I wanted, but I can go back here and I can go to object and ungroup the symbol, and now I can go back here and just do stuff like that. You know, and I can go back here to the area and I can start kind of working on the stuff that I have there. Does that make sense? And I can go back here to the fill and I say no fill. So you see that? And I might go back here to this guy and go back and move it. And then this guy, I'm going to click on it. Oops, not, I want to click on it together. And then I'm going to make that a little guy here. And guess what I'm going to do to it now? Maybe I want to symbol it, right? Because maybe I want to use it again and I forgot to use it before. Does that make sense? So you can go back here. I can go in and put the music sign. I mean, I'm not going to do that, but I can go in and select this one and that one and maybe go back and group it. So they're going to move together. I'm not going to do the entire thing. I just want to show you how to navigate because I want to show you how to go in and prototype it in a minute, right? So what else do I want to do here? Maybe I want to do a little symbol that says explore. So maybe I have this symbol over here and I'm going to go and put it in there. Very ugly what I did before because I didn't know what I'm going to do with it, but maybe I want to double click on it and then I'm going to go back here and maybe change even stuff from the image that I have and then go back here and say something like that. And then maybe I'm going to make it kind of little guy and put it in here. And then maybe I don't want to have a border. I'm just making it up right now, right? So now I can go back here and basically I can just type explore. And it will remember the last thing that you did. So if I don't care, I can go in and put it on here. And if I don't want it to be bold italic, I can go back here and just do it bold, right? I can do it different color. I can do different kind of things. I can also select the two of them, and I am going to group it. So now I have it as a group, and it is going to move here or to move here or whatever it is, right? So this is the one that tells me to explore things like this. Does that make sense? And of course, I want to save that. So far so good. I did kind of like a very simple thing. I'm going to zoom out. I want to duplicate it. And I want to duplicate it with everything that I had here. So I might go to my artboard. And look at this. As soon as I go to kind of like my artboard tool, look what I have here. You can do a different kind of size now too. But at the moment, if I want to do something for web and for iPhone, I have to transfer the assets by myself. It still doesn't do it together. It doesn't collect your assets, unfortunately. Maybe that's something, and that's everybody's asking. Okay, I want to do the website. Do I have to like, yeah, I have to drag and drop it. So, right? But I'm going to click on the splash screen word, hold on the Option key or Alt key, and going to go in here and do a copy. And then from this splash screen, maybe I want to do another one. So I'm going to go back here, or maybe I'm just not going to do. This is the main one. And then I can double click on the word that I have. And the next one is going to be like, what do you call it? Elements or places to go, or I don't know how I named it, but let me see how I named it, because maybe I named it in a nice name, which I forget. Okay, I name it main screen. So this is the splash and this is the main screen. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to call it main screen. So what do I want to leave on the main screen? I'm going to zoom in to the main screen. Main screen. I'm going to zoom in. Command 3 is going to zoom in just to the main screen. And what do I want to go and do in this main screen? And maybe I want to leave these guys the same, but maybe I don't need to go in and explore this one. So I'm just going to take it away. Maybe I want to get rid of this one right now. Maybe I don't want to do that here. And maybe I want to go into this area and make that really, really light. And then maybe go back and actually I'm going to put that actually all going to go in and just do it really light. So it's going to get kind of an idea of the stuff that I have that I want to go in and explore. So I have that over here. I don't need to go into this one, so I'm going to go in and get this. I'm going to select this one and I'm going to get rid of that for now. And what I'm going to do in the main screen, I might want to go and bring an arrow, which I can make. And I want to go back here and click on some other stuff and maybe go back and forth. So I might go into my UI. And then I might look if I have an area that I have some of the arrows here that looks like something that has an UI for me. So I'm looking around. I mean, a lot of time I will bring it actually ahead of time and see if I have areas like this. Just I'm going to go into the UI and I have stuff that has little arrows like that have that. If I don't have that on this one, I can go in and look at another one and see if I have a little thing for the UI that's going to go in and bring it here. And all of a sudden, I don't see anything here, so I might make one. So another thing that I can do is just make one or go and open another thing on a different kind of a UI over here. So I can go back here and I can go in and click on all the way that on here on the line, and I am making the border, let's say, dark, and then I'm gonna make that size 4, and then I'm gonna go in and make another one, and then make that size 4. I can also duplicate it, actually. That's the easiest one to do. So I don't want this one. I can go in and Command D to duplicate it, and I'm gonna bring this one around, and I am going to, let's say if I can rotate it, and then I'm going to go in, and I don't think it lets me, it usually lets you rotate it automatically. Yeah, I'm rotating it, right? And then I'm gonna go in and put it kind of like, let's say one on top of each other, and I'm zooming into it. You know, there's ways to do it in different ways, but of course I'm gonna go in and aligning it. Not the best way of doing it, and I'm gonna align them kind of together. And let's say I'm selecting the two of them, pretend that's okay, and I'm grouping them, or I can make it into one. And if I group it, I'm gonna go back here, and you can see I can go in and make that, and now I'm gonna make that size 2, and I'm gonna make this one size 2. Of course, the easiest way is to find one and then bring it here, and I'm gonna go in and bring it here to go back home, right? And then over here onto the side, I might go in and do like the 3 lines that I have. So I might have 1 line, and then I'm gonna make it size 2, and then I can select that and make it maybe darker. Oops. And then while I'm selecting it, I can go back here, I'm gonna go back here, and then I am going to, I can do a step and repeat, but I'm just gonna go hold on the Option or Alt key and just do that. So I have this little guy here, and I'm gonna select it, and actually I want to see only 3 of them. I'm gonna make it 1. Oops, select 1, 2, and 3, and I'm gonna make it 1, and then this one I don't want. And then this one can be a symbol also. I can group it, and I can make it into a symbol if I wanted to bring. So this is what I have over here, and I'm gonna put that all the way down to here. But here we're going to the interesting thing. I'm gonna go in and zoom in, and look what I'm doing. I'm gonna go in here, and I want to build my places that I want to go to. So I'm gonna go into my rectangle tool, and I'm gonna decide what places I want to have. And look what I'm doing. I just did that, and now I want to do more of it. So I'm gonna go step and repeat. I could have done it with the lines too, but look what I'm doing now. I'm gonna go in, and it's repeating exactly what I have. Since I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, see here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over here. But I can go back here and make it smaller. You see what happens? So it's gonna make that smaller, and then I can go back here to the step and repeat, and I can go in, and I'm gonna go and click on the areas, and I can change the stuff that I have in between the step and repeat. Does that make sense? So this is kind of like my step and repeat, and it will remembers it in the beginning as one little object that we have here. And I can go back here and do stuff like that. I can go back here and go back to it. And now I can go in and start creating little things that I have here in the step and repeat that I have there. Does that make sense? So I can go in and move it. You see, now I kind of want it to be something like this. And then maybe I don't even want, if I don't want to have any lines, see, I can do stuff like this. Does that make sense? Once you have the step and repeat like this, the machine thinks it's one person at the moment. So now I can go into my area here, and I can go back here and say, I want to go into the images, and I'm going to start going in and making something, and I have something called Music Center. So, and I have that Music Center Hall 1 and Music Center Hall 2. Maybe I want to go in and put the Music Center. So look what happens here. Once I put the Music Center here, look what happens. It's all went in there. Because it's all think it's one. I can go back here and select the stuff here into the Music Center and make that not as dark. Does that make sense? It's all the same. I can also go in and select the area that I have, and then I am going to my text, and in my text I do have something that says list. So I can go back here and click on the list, and this is the list that I have and the places that I have, and I can go back here and bring it like this, or I can actually select that and go into my list, and it should go in and inside it. I don't know why it doesn't. Maybe I didn't type it the right way. Oh, because it should read this little guys here as one area, and then just should go inside directly as a list without you working so hard. It doesn't read it over here for some reason, so it doesn't do the list over here. So I might do it manually right now, but usually you can do it non-manually over here, right? So now let's say this is the Music Center. So I can go back here, and this one maybe it is going to be Watts Towers. So I'm gonna go back here, and I can actually place the Watts Tower in there. So I can do place, or I can go back here and I can go into the images, and I have different kind of Watts Towers. So I have Watts over here, and I can go back here and see, and it's just gonna go in there. Sometimes I don't know why it's going to the other one, but it just, I'm gonna select this one, and I'm just gonna make that, and I'm gonna select this one, and it just do that. Now I'm gonna go into this guy, and then I'm gonna go in. So you can put one by one, or you can go in on anything that you want, but because it's a grid in the beginning, you can put anything that you want. So I'm gonna go in to the area here, and I am going to create something. I'm going to put this one in here. So I'm going to go here, and now I'm going to go in and select that, and the next one you want to go in and put the graffiti in there. And this one, the last one, you want to go to Broad Museum, and this one, it's a file they called Kuhn, I think. Yeah, Jeff Kuhn. So basically this is what I have. And I can go in here, and it's just still like that, right? So it's gonna go in and do different sizes and different things that I wanna have, and I can put different kind of stuff in there. Does that make sense? So that's really cool for every navigation. Maybe I wanna put in here just my music sign. So I think my music sign is an SVG, and I'm gonna go back here, and I'm gonna go back here to my note, and I'm gonna go in and I'm just gonna copy it, and then I'm going to go in to XD and paste. The reason it doesn't come in here, you cannot drag and drop Illustrator file yet, only SVG files. You can copy and paste the Illustrator file, but not the other one. Does that make sense? So I'm just gonna double click here and move it here, and let's say this is the music notes that I have. And here I might go back here to this one, and I can go in and zoom into it and go back, and I'm gonna leave it here. So I might go in and move that a little bit here. And then I have this file over here. So right now I can go and put the titles in there if I want, or I can name the titles if I want, and I can put them in there. Or I can even, let's say I'm gonna go in and zoom into it, and then, or I can just go back here and type, let's say, if I don't want to type it, I can go back here, and the first one we said is the music center. And by the way, you have to highlight it. That's why everybody don't like it. It's like this. And then I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to go back here and paste. And it's going to be kind of like one little paste that you have here. So it's kind of like still. People want to see it a little bit different. But I'm going to go back here. And I'm going to go in and make it bold. And then I might go in and simply just put it here. And of course, I can go back here and I can go in again and I can just do a step and repeat if I wanted, but if I'm not really going to align it perfectly, I might just duplicate it. Does that make sense? I didn't want to do a step and repeat, so I'm just duplicating it. And then I might just go in and change the name or whatever it is, right? So I have everything on top of it, and I did that. And I'm saving. So the next thing we want to do, and then we're going to make it happen, we're going to do one screen only, right? So I can go into this screen, and I can duplicate it. And I'm going to double click on this one, and I'm going to call that Music Center. And in the Music Center, maybe you want to have a symbol like a home. You can either draw one, you can bring one from Illustrator. They have a lot of stuff in there. And then you want to go and have something to say named Music Center. So I basically going to go back here, and I am going to delete the main one, and I'm going to delete this one. I might even go and delete these guys here. I might go in and have just the top one over here. These guys I don't want anymore. And then I'm going to go in and highlight that with the type tool. I'm still doing it the way Illustrator is doing it, which it doesn't think like this, which is annoying. See, I did a lot of little thing here. And then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to make that maybe size 24. And then I'm going to make that bold italic. And then I'm going to go in and make it to the center. And I'm going to put it kind of like in the center of the screen. And by the way, that's going to represent the main screens for all of them. So I can put stuff on it, and it's going to go in and represent everything that I have. So the first thing I want to do here, I'm going to go back here and click and drag another frame. And then I am going to go in and put some stuff in there. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to go to my XD, and since it's a music center, I'm just going to go in and maybe put the music center to 8, and then I'm going to go and bring it here. And you see over here, I can go in and make that very, very light. So you see what I'm doing? I'm giving it, like you see the music center, but it's not the main, not everything is in there. And then I'm going to go back here to, and then go back and maybe arrange it and send it back. So now I can go back here and click on, and then go back into the music center and go back here and arrange and bring to front and go back here to this one. So basically this is what I have. I have the music center over here, right? What do I want to write about the music center? Maybe I want to put some stuff in there. And this is the one I'm going to duplicate and then put different images in there. Does that make sense? And then this is the one that I'm going to go back and maybe even make it bigger. And I might go into this little guy here and then copy it, and go in and bring it here, and I'm gonna zoom into it because it's so small. And then this, I wish they let you go and take away the bounding boxes, but I might go in and put it here as a symbol. And then now I'm gonna go back here and zoom in and click on this, guys, and zoom into that. And I am going here. Oh, actually I do have it over here, right? I did, I forgot. And but instead of this one, I might go in and put home. If I don't have a symbol of home now, I'm not gonna worry about it. I might just go back here and I'm just gonna say this is home, right? For now. Let's pretend that this is home. And now what I have here, I want to go in here and create, let's say, a rectangle. And I'm going to make that round and then bigger or smaller. And I'm going to go back here and make that a lot lighter. And then I'm going to go in and bring the type. So I'm going to go into the area and bring the text, and I do have it prepared. So a lot of stuff you have to prepare ahead of time. And you see here I have Music Center. So I'm going to go in, and this is my Music Center. It's a little bit bigger, so I can decide that I make it a little bit bigger, or I can decide here that I don't want it to be 20. Maybe I want to have it only 16. And then I am going to go in to the area here, and I'm going to make that maybe medium, and I'm going to make that black. And now I'm going to go in and play with the stuff that I have, and I can decide, do I want to go in and have that, and if I'm going to go back here, and this is the spacing between it's the leading. So now it's new. This one is your leading over here. So you have some leading, and if you want to go in and make that to the center, you can, only if you want. Does that make sense? So I can go and put it here and then decide this is how I want it. I can group them together, and I have kind of like the story that I have. Here I can do a placeholder for people who visited. I can put another placeholder for stuff that people visited here. So let's say I'm going to do that. I'm the one. This is the placeholder for visiting. And I'm going to go into Object and ungroup the symbol. And I'm going to go back here. And this is the thumbnail for every person that visited here, right? So I'm going to put it kind of like here. And I'm going to put, and I want to show you how to put another thing in there without just dragging and dropping. What if I wanted to mask an image into it? So I can go into my images, and I'm going to go in, and let's say I'm going to go in, and let's say my daughter Gilly visited. I'm not going to put it here. I'm just going to go and look at that. That's a lot of people over here. But I'm just going to go in here and maybe make it a little smaller. But I really don't know how much of the image I want it to be. So I am going to go in here and make it a little smaller too. And I am going to select that. I'm going to go in and select her and select the object. And I'm going to go to Object, Arrange, and Bring to Front. And then I'm going to select the two of them and go Object and go Mask with Shape. And you see what I have? Now I can go in and decide how much of her I can put in there. So this is basically like bringing a mask inside. The other one, when you drag and drop, you cannot manipulate the image. This one, you can go in here and manipulate the image and see how much you want to see in there. Does that make sense? So maybe I want to have part of this one. And this is, I'm going to go back here and I have that. And this is the one who just visited here, and I can have her as stuff like that. Does that make sense? Of course, I can go in and select that and hold on the Option or Alt key and put one here. And now I'm going to do a repeat grid. Of course, I'm going to make it a lot smaller. That's too big and everything. This is for all the people who visited, right? A placeholder. And of course, later on, you can unplace it and put stuff in there. The other thing that I want to go and do, I want to go into the UI kit. And then I'm going to go into, oh, by the way, this is actually, see this, the one I was looking for. See these guys? They're here. I didn't even see them. But I'm going to go into the UI kit. And then I'm going to go in and see where I have stars. So I'm going to zoom into this one, and you see I have a star. I can take the whole thing. I can take one star. I'm just going to take one star only on purpose. And I'm going to copy. And I'm going to go back here to my DTLA. And I'm going to paste. And this is the star that I have. And then I am going to go into the star and then select that. And then I'm going to go back here and make that, let's say, black. And then maybe it's going to be a 5-star area to be here. So once I have that, I'm going to go into the repeat grid. Another star, another star, another star, and another star. And then I'm going to go in and do that. Right? So I'm going to show here, and then maybe this one is a little bit up. This one is way too big. I'm going to hold on the Option and Shift. And I'm going to make that like that. I'm going to make that the Option and Shift. You see, all of them are growing the same. Why are they doing it the same? Because they are part of my repeat grid. So I can have more visitors coming and put them here, right? Now I'm going to go and select the whole thing, and I'm going to do Edit and Copy. So I have another copy, and I want to go into the copy, and then I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to go into the copy, and I'm going to go in and make it yellow. So basically what you have here, it's like you have one that has black in it and one is going to have yellow underneath it. So it's going to go in, oh, I did the wrong thing. So I don't need the word tab. But see, it saved my life because it's always a thing here. So basically the best way to do it is kind of like duplicate it. And then once you duplicate it, you're going to go into the new one. And then go into the fill, and I'm going to make this one here, and I'm going to go back and align it back, and I'm going to go into Object, Arrange, and Send Back. And then you can see here, if you go in here, you can start seeing the other one. I don't know why I don't see the other one. I send it all the way to the back probably. But you can see that you have, see here, you have another one underneath it. So it's basically showing your client how to code the stars. 1 star, 2 star, 3 stars. So let's say I'm saving it. Now I want to go in and prototype it. And by the way, you can go back here, and this is still your Creative Cloud library. And then I think you can go in and put some stuff in it. I don't know still how you add stuff. I think some stuff you cannot still add to it all the way. You can add just colors and things like this, but basically it comes from the other library. But now I'm going to zoom in to the area here, and I have the entire thing. And let's pretend we have a bunch of screens, right? For the sake of the argument, because we're almost done, I'm going to go into the prototype. To go back from the prototype, you click on Control Tab. It's going to go back from prototype to design. And I'm going to click on the prototype. And now I'm going to go in and zoom in to the area here, and look what I have. I want to go in from this one. I'm going to prototype that, and I'm going to click and I say from the main screen, or maybe I'm going to go from Explore. I want to go in and go to the Music Center. It is going to ask you, how do you want to go to? The target is the main screen. the transition is, do you want to slide to the right, to the left, up, down, push left, push down, push right, push down? This is basically, that's what we get right now. Everybody else is asking actually, can we build our own? Not yet. But this is probably going to have scripts to do that and all kind of third-party scripts like you have even in Muse, right? Bring it in. So let's decide that we're going to slide to the right. It's going to ask you the duration. You can do the duration. Let's say I just did 0.4 for now. You can also ask is in, is out, or none. So how are you going? Is in, is out, or none? I'm going to just do none for now. I'm going to go into the main screen and I'm going to go to the music center. I'm going to go back to the main screen here, and from here for the main screen, I'm going to go back and I'm going to put it over here again. So it's going to go in from the main screen, it goes to the splash, right? And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to go in and make it left, and I'm going to leave it like this. Now I'm going to go into the music center. And then from the music center, I want to go in and click it here. Or here, or whatever I want. And I'm going to go in and make it right. And I'm going to leave everything else. And then from the music center, I'm going to go back here and click that to the music center. And then from the home, I'm going to go in and can just say I'm going to go back here. Does that make sense? And maybe this one is going to go up. Not sure I did the right thing, right? I'm just going to check it out. If I'm going to select the whole thing, you can see it's all tagged right now. Now I have few things over here. One thing over here, I can attach my iPhone over here, and then I can connect it and download a XD mobile app and see how it works. The other thing, I can go back here and I'm going to check it out and see if I did the right thing. So I'm going to click on Explore. It goes here. I'm going to click over here. It goes back. So far, so good. Click on Explore. Click on the Music Center. Goes back here. Click back on the Music Center, goes back here. Click back to the Music Center, goes home. You see, I did it another way. Okay? So I want to send it to you as a client. So while I'm doing it, you see this little zero? I'm going to click on that. I'm recording it now. I'm going to click Explore. I'm going to click Music Center. I'm going to click back here to here. Back first here. I'm going to click back. Didn't do that, but I'm going to click this one and I have home, and I can go back here and explore again. And if these guys were okay, I can continue doing it. Once did I not?
Yeah, it didn't go.
It didn't go, right? Now it's going to go. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to click here and click here and click here and click here back and click back here and click here. And if I don't want it, see, now I'm going to say MP3, click save, send it to my client. Does that make sense? The other thing that you can do, click over here, publish the prototype. So I can go in, publish the specs that you have. That's new one. That just came up right now. Manage the publish link. So I'm going to go in and publish. And you can, now the new one is allow comment. And then I'm going to create a link. And I can open the link, copy the link, embed the link, create a new link, update the link, and say. So I'm going to open the link. And now I have that. So I can go back here and click back here. What I don't like is the way I did the screens, but it's okay. I have to be kind of together. Therefore, you have to make a decision. And is in or is out here. And I can go back here. And then maybe I can go home. So I'm checking it out. It's okay. So I can go in here, and in the Explore, I can say, do not like the transitions. Please go back to it. Does that make sense? So person is gonna go in there, it's gonna know exactly what I have. This one no comment, but I can see here that I have some comments, and you can go in and see the comments that you have, and it's all good, right? So that's another way of doing it. Another thing is you can go back to XD. You can update the links and everything that you want, and you can go back here. And then another thing that you can go back here is publish specs. I don't know what it is now, but it is going to do create on. That's probably a new one that you have here. And then you can go in manage the links. So if you go and manage the links, you can see here that I have more than one link already because I did few stuff and published few things there. So it's going to go in and do some other stuff. Does that make sense? Is that cool? Isn't it cool? It's kind of cute, yes.
But what about when you work with your colleague and you want to share all your assets and other files? Is there
Okay, that's what I'm going to do now. Thank you. And that's what I'm not even going to wait for that. So now I'm working with with my colleagues, and I'm going to go in and they say, you know, we want the artboards, we want all the stuff that you have. You can go in and you can export. And you can go back here and you can decide. So I'm going to do a new folder, and let's say call it DTLA. And it's going to ask you what do you want to do that, and then what kind of design that you want to have. It's going to take the artboards if you want. So let's say export all artboard. That's one thing that I can do. So now I can go back here to my desktop, and then going to go see here, and I have something that I call it DTLA, DDD over here, and basically I have this, guys. And then did it different sizes to depending I want to do. Another thing is you can go to each area here, and then you can go in and export, and you can go in and export a PNG and everything that you have. So this is how I created the whole thing for you guys. If you go into this area here, you can see here I have artboard. I export all of them for PDF, and then basically went there and put it together so I can see what I did for myself, right? Like artboards. And then I went here and I went into Acrobat and made it into different PDF together. And I have also over here, I bent over here, and you see here artboard, final demo font, images, and then I think I had some other stuff. Maybe I didn't put it in there, but by original I do have the stuff in there that I export everything into it one by one. So you have all the images, so you can export a bunch of images by selecting them and send it to your friends. I do it ahead of time in the beginning, a lot of the stuff. So the way I work, it's just the other way around. I create stuff like this, and then this one, by the way, I downloaded. That's a wireframe to download and start working from. They're just giving you a wireframe with different sizes if you want to start working based on something. See header, and that's for a website. They're just giving you a little template. And then in the template, you even have the character style and everything that you have here, see here, or whatever you have there. But basically what I do when I start working with my job here, I always go back to the area and I put all the stuff together. I don't use all of it, but I put all the images together. So you see here, I have images that I never used, right? I have images that I have like a mask on them. I have the broad image without the mask on it. I have the watts with a mask, but you see the all PNG or JPEGs. And then again, also here in the SVG, everything that is SVG, you can drag and drop it. Everything that it is here, you can double click on it, copy and paste it. Does that make sense? So it's basically give you the whole idea that you can really create a little website or anything that you want and go into your client and then just go back and work with it. So if I'm going in to my XD again and I'm going to go into art in LA, You see here, that's when I did the whole thing. So I can go back here and start saying, you see, explore, and then I explore that, and then maybe I went back here, and maybe I explore that, and maybe I wanted to go home, and maybe I want to explore that, and maybe I want to explore this one, and then go back and forth. And then I made even more. I made something like check-in, favorite, members, art in LA, log out. And if I want to go into the members or art in LA or whoever checked in, I think I checked in. So this is the check-in. I checked in and I talked about my Chana Messer as an artist, She just checked in to the stuff that you want, and this one goes back here. This one I didn't do anything with it, but in the favorite I could have added more stuff. I just started to do that with this, but you can even use it for different kind of things. And you can load it into your iPhone or the iPad. I mean, I think the XD is still not for the iPad, but if it's you can go to the Apple Store and open the XD and put it in and prototype it and show it to people. Does that make sense? Cool. Questions? I know it's not complete, and I know there's a lot of more stuff to it, but isn't it cool to start with? For somebody who knows nothing about code and start playing with stuff, and all of a sudden I can tell you, are you a coder or something? Probably, or know more about it. So maybe I can show you and you say, oh, I know what you want. So kind of for me as an artist, I'm not a coder. I don't even know how to spell the word code. So for me, it's really helpful because I can just start playing and showing people stuff. And hopefully I keep writing every time. Oh, look at this. I'm still recording. Yeah, but it's without my voice, so that's okay. But every time that I do something, like I can tell you my